it into elements. So user, problem, and motivation. Those are the three elements in the problem. So with each of those elements, he came up with the how might we statements. And I have actually never generated this many how might we statements in my life, to tell you the truth. So I have to go back and brush up on this again. But basically, he's trying to look for opportunities for solutions for each of those elements. And then for each of those how might we's, he generated hypotheses, which are testable statements. So if we do X, then Y will happen. So these get really, really granular. He talks about, price tag, sales discounts, like buttons, like very, very granular stuff. So if you're thinking about like A/B testing, and like you've seen those in the wild, and I guess this is kind of what you take to the A/B testing. And I'm actually curious where we continue on from here on, because that's where we stopped. Did I get this right?
Right, there's just one small tweak. So I don't know if you guys have read my newsletter from this week on product experiment design. Those are a different type of hypotheses that is a little bit more granular and is formatted a little bit differently from this. The way that I'm presenting this is more for prompt framing, as you're kind of creating your own case studies for your portfolio. If you're doing a prompt, I wanted to kind of teach you guys how to go more granular and actually develop like very, very specific contexts and skill sets, and actually, design with like more intention than just like doing a generic redesign or a generic product concept of a prompt that you just found online that's like very, very high level. Because like one of the biggest mistakes with like new design portfolios is they kind of just like dive straight into, this is a very visual design focused portfolio case study. And the goal was to improve usability, which, is important, but is also very generic. So this kind of format of defining a prompt and making it more granular, targeting specific help my we's and opportunities, and then breaking them down into hypotheses allows you to actually create like a lot of different design iterations that lets you approach like the best possible solution rather than a generic solution, which is what we want to emphasize, and I think will be really valuable as you apply for your jobs. So the initial prompt here was literally find your way around a new city. And then, not to throw shade, this is what Gene designed, which visually very, very nice, but it doesn't actually hit like a real business prompt and doesn't really demonstrate any unique kind of like skill set or context. It just looks like, you followed the visual design principles to the T, usability looks fine, but it just doesn't have any uniqueness to it. And as a designer, like, not saying you have to be unique, but you need to frame like your design decisions in the context of how it creates business value and how it actually accomplishes like a specific goal, ideally aligning the user goals with the business goals. Does that make sense to you, Gene, / everyone in the audience?
So I do have a question. If it's gonna be a long answer, then you can like save it to the end. But
do some Q&A first, and then we'll do visual design today, I promise.
Okay, sure. So my question is, in a whiteboarding setting, in an interview, would you still go through this sort of process? How does it differ?
So I uploaded a video on this, but I'll go through a very high level example of my framework. So generally for whiteboarding challenges, the goal here is to show your problem solving approach, and also kind of like, it's mostly problem solving approach, and then how you work with the interviewer, how receptive you are to feedback, and how well you communicate your design decisions. So the framework I use generally has 5 steps. The first one is defining the problem, scoping it out, defining the constraints, and setting your assumptions. Step 2 is you take your scope and you distill down an information architecture that you're proposing. You can include things that are out of scope too, but kind of highlight what you want to focus on. Step 3 is interaction design for one of the core flows. Step 4 is visual design / content hierarchy. And then step 5 is what I call secret sauce, which is you want to demonstrate any additional skills beyond like the minimum core skills that you'll need. Basically what makes you unique, right? You know, if you have a psychology background, you can talk about that. If you're really passionate about accessibility, you can talk about that. If you're really passionate about user research, you can talk about that. Essentially any skill that's kind of like a +1 or additional on top of the core 3 skill sets, you kind of like address at this step. And the general approach I recommend is you want to walk them through your approach. Be like, hey, we have 45 minutes. I'm planning on spending 10 minutes on step 1, doing this, 5 minutes on information architecture, etc. And he even asked the interviewer to kind of, time keep for you, and you can also ask them for feedback as well. Sometimes they'll be like, hey, like based off your portfolio, we already have a lot of really strong signal on visual design, so maybe you want to focus more on interaction design. That's perfectly okay to discuss with them up front. I'm not going to go into any more detail because there's a video like hour long explaining how to do this, and then there's going to be a part 2 on Monday. But does that answer your question?
So what I gather from this is that with your whiteboarding challenge, it's a lot more high level, whereas in the design that we did is a lot more granular, and it feels more practical, I guess, in a sense, because you are hitting like granular deals.
Yeah, that's a great call out. So the whiteboard challenge here, like it's intended to check for your communication skills, your team working skills, and your how receptive you are to feedback, and also your general approach to problem solving. And it's in an interview format, so it's like 45 minutes. This problem framing workshop is how I'm proposing that you guys frame your case studies inside your portfolio, and how you practice and develop skills and explore different areas to actually find your niche. So like through the process of doing this, certain help my ways and certain hypotheses are going to be more interesting for you. And in the future, they should inform the subsequent case studies that you plan to focus on. Does that make sense?
Okay, this makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and I like how you separated the two because they're quite different, and I like both. But I mean, like this is a lot more practical in my mind. Yeah.
If people are interested, we can even do a part 3 after this, and we can focus on product experiments. We can talk about null hypotheses, alternate hypotheses.
Let's do it.
Sanity metrics, evaluation metrics, driving KPIs, setting up A/B tests, multivariate tests, etc. And that's how you articulate like business value as a designer. But this one will just focus on, I guess, converting these hypotheses into visual design decisions, if that makes sense.
Yes, 100% yes. I think everyone's saying yes as well. So let's do it.
So just to keep you recap, the initial prompt is find your way around a city. This is kind of the audience that we're going for, millennial tourists, self-sufficient. This is the prompt that I reformatted with 3 parts: the user, the problem, and the motivation. And then help my ways are basically the opportunities / the things that we want to accomplish with our design. So based off the persona, I kind of pulled out 3 areas, which are budget conscious, hidden gems, which means these types of travelers want to find destinations and tourist spots that aren't like super high traffic, and they want to kind of like be unique. And then there's also a use case of, they want to flex on social media and get attention, which I thought was just like fun to add in. And then I've taken each individual helmet we hear and articulated it in a hypothesis. So just to give a bit more detail, all hypotheses should be formed as an if-then statement. The if is basically what we want to change, and that's known as the independent variable. This is a thing that we can design and have influence over. The then is the dependent variable, essentially the metric we want to move, which should be tied to like our goals. And because is a optional step, but I think it's generally pretty useful to have, like these are basically your assumptions, essentially your context, research, and data that kind of helped you inform that this is a hypothesis that you want to frame. In the next part, I'll go into much more detail about how to choose the right hypotheses to test and how to structure experiments. But that's the statement. This is the format that we're going for now. So I don't know if you want to like quickly at a high level just kind of walk through these, and then we'll go into the visual design. Jean, if you want to. quickly blast through these.
As in,
Yeah, just like you don't have to read them out loud. Say something like, one of the opportunities that we want to capitalize on is how do we ensure that the travel destination options are affordable. And then we came with 4 hypotheses to help with that: a price range slider, a price filter, a cheap tag, and then a sale or discount tag. So something like that.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So the how might we that we came up with related to the cost budget conscious user was that we wanted to ensure the cost is transparent and upfront. So what if we provide a transparent pricing system, including the taxes, fees, and such as, and cost breakdowns, then budget conscious travelers will find the experience that might fit their budget. So this is just finding another ways to provide this opportunity. And another one is pricing comparison chart. What if we give them that? Then will they feel that they're getting the budget that they that fits their bill? And how about we here we have is to help our users identify what's considered a hidden gem. So that was part of the problem in the problem statement. So second element. So here we said if we find a foot traffic score or threshold or business score, busyness score, then will our users feel like they've identified a hidden gem. If we say, hey, like it's not on TripAdvisor, it's a local favorite or gem, then will our users feel like they're finding a hidden gem? And then the next how might we have is how might we help our users discover the hidden gems that are most relevant to their interests. So this is a lot more related to the personalization aspect. And here we said if we provide a questionnaire, some kind of matching system, then can we actually show them what's most relevant to them? And another one we have here is robust filtering system is provided. Then can we show them the most relevant hidden gem? Another one we got here is if we connect with their social or social media profile, would that help? And lastly, we got a robust onboarding flow to capture their preferences. And we did go into a little bit of this, and I'm actually curious to see another one of your articles on onboarding like all together because I think it's a really interesting topic. Yeah, here we got the how might we's on how might we help our users learn or decide on which hidden gem to visit. And we said if we show explicit or transparent schedule availability, then they'll be able to decide on which hidden gem to visit. If we show this, or if we display the gem's travel distance and travel time based on the user's proximity, then they'll be able to decide on which hidden gem to visit. If we show game, that like you discover this place and you'll be able to unlock the other places, so basically gamifying it, then they'll that would be a really cool idea actually. If we show reviews or testimonials, and lastly, if we show user uploaded photos. So these were the areas that we did identify for that how might we. And here we got the how might we help our user get attention. So that was part of the ultimate motivation. And if we allow our users to check in or incrementally document their travel experiences as they go, then they'll get more attention. If we mark shareable virtual souvenirs, then they'll get more attention over time. And lastly, here's our last how might we, and we generated a lot of how might we's, and I mean mostly Richard did, but how might we help our users generate aesthetic or interesting content to social media? So if we mark hidden photo spots that tourists can scout out or complete, then they'll be able to generate unique and interesting content for social media. And if we enable geofence AR filters, then they'll be able to generate unique and interesting content for social media. So wow, we have how many
So I think
statements?
Yeah, we'll probably design all these, but there's a few that we'll have to design from scratch because you don't have the corresponding screen for. So let's go through. Do you want to do a critique of the current experience so far? Like, would that be helpful?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so my first critique here is I'm assuming the entry point into the app. So whenever you require the user to, sign up, log in, or input payment credentials, any sort of high friction task, we typically call that a gate, which is kind of like essentially like gate for high friction, right? Generally, you never, ever, ever want to put gates at the beginning of an app because if you think about the download and installation experience, it's already like very, very high friction, high cost. And then as soon as they download the app, you're forcing them to sign up or log in. And they don't even know if they want to use the app yet. So generally the best practice here is to move the gate as far back as you can and only prompt them to log in, sign up, or set up their profile when they try and access a feature that requires it. So for example, in this case, they should feasibly be able to like check out all the tours and look at the info without needing an account. And the only time they actually need an account is if they chat with the host or book for, or they start booking the process. So that's where you would move the gate to. Does that piece make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Don't require users to sign up unless they really have to, which is the booking state. Gotcha.
And then here, I think everything is pretty good. The only thing I would change is, now that we've kind of reframed the problem, you probably don't want to show popular tours because that's like the exact opposite. And you probably want to, from a content hierarchy perspective, there's like a lot of info that they're missing. Like usually just showing the image by itself, that's not enough information for them to actually make a decision on whether or not they want to view in more detail. So you have a bit more info here, but I don't think it's enough either. And we have to reframe it in the context of our persona, which is that budget conscious millennial traveler that wants to find hidden gems. And you might want to create like separate categories for this. So that's what I would do there. And then you have a map view. I think this is fine, but this is also kind of like these three views are almost like, oh, I see. This is like the search results for this. Interesting. It's very interesting because the search result tile is different from the grid list tile that you have here. And they have like a different hierarchy. So I probably align them. The map is interesting as well. But I would also think about like, why do we even need a map, right? Like the benefits of a map is like if they're planning like their routes, but the real job to be done here is, they want to see the distance from where they are, which we could just display as like a tag or like just as a string instead of having to show a full map. So unless you're planning to add trip planning capabilities where they can, book multiple things, and then we would recommend like the optimal travel routes for them, a map wouldn't be as useful.
Yeah, though that's a really good point.
And then this is a great screen, but again, like the info that you have here doesn't really align with the content hierarchy that we want to pursue. And I don't think it has like enough information for somebody to make a decision, especially for our persona. And then checkout, I'm not really going to touch. I'm going to descope this for what we're doing for now. So that's the high level. So let's kind of like break this down a little bit, shall we? So let's start with this. So generally with any sort of platform, you want to have a search and browse experience because people just always have different navigational pattern preferences. So let's kind of be more specific here. Let's make the copy. I'm gonna just change the font to something that I like.
Yeah.
Let's just say explore. I don't want to call it hidden gems, but like explore local local
Spots.
travel spots, something like that. I'm gonna just bump this down a little, bold it. Can we do? Okay, something like that's fine. I'm also gonna keep like a 16 pixel margin on the left and right. That's generally the best practice for iOS. I'm gonna add some bounding boxes just to keep the spacing right. So this is an iPhone X, I believe. Or it's not.
Yeah, the latest one.
This is a weird size, I think. This is like an X plus. I'm just gonna use an iPhone, not 8, iPhone X. Okay, so you want to add a bounding box for the status bar. And then I'm going to add another one for the navigation bar, which is also 44 pixels tall. Or it can be, I believe, 56 for the extended navigation. So right now I'm just like boxing off the areas. And then there's gonna be a search bar. So let's type in search. And then I'm gonna use auto layout, use 8, set it to 343, which is gonna be the 16 pixel margin, which is what I want to keep on the left and right. So I'll just draw that in. And then I'm just gonna add a small fill. That.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Are you treating this like a lo-fi wireframe right now?
I'm showing you my approach, and I'm gonna convert it to hi-fi, and you're gonna see like it's actually really fast to do so.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, a lot of things are missing in the flow, Ahmed. We're just doing some concept mocks right now, so we're just calling out like the major screens.
Yeah.
In a separate workshop, I might do something for information architecture, and then we'll flesh out more of it. I'm not putting any icons in for now because I'm just doing lo-fi. I'm showing how to block it. Okay, so we have the search, and then we want to think about different types of events, right? We want to facilitate browsing patterns here. So we can keep your layout the way it is. So I'm just gonna add a header. And this is gonna be a carousel category. This. And then also going to, let's do 160, 160, 120. This is gonna be like one of those images. Now we want to think about content hierarchy. Okay, so like what kind of information do people need to know when deciding whether or not they want to click in for more details? So we'll obviously need the name. What else?
We said, and going back to our statements, principal statements, this is the time, right? This is the time we go back and like retrieve.
When we kind of look at our hypotheses, right? Like what information, so we'll basically be taking this, I believe.
Right.
So we'll go learn.
Another question for you. At this point, which one are you taking and which one are you discarding? Are you just kind of going with your guts?
There's actually like a framework that I use, but I don't think I can go into enough detail about it without confusing you guys. So I'm just gonna go for my gut for now. So we want to go with pricing. So do the price. We'll do, you don't want to do star ratings because for them to be useful, we need a lot of people to go. And if they're hidden loco gems, then we probably don't want, we probably won't get enough data to make that useful. So we can do travel distance.
Yeah, that sounds good.
What else?
Are you just taking one element from each of these Hamaitlis?
I'm choosing a combination of these. Reviews we definitely want to show, but we won't be able to show them in a tile view because that requires more screen real estate. We can also do some sort of tagging. So let's do something like local favorite, just as an example.
Gotcha.
Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna like put this all together. Group. This is way too big. And then just something like that. And then name, and then I'm gonna just group these together. So this will be horizontal 8. We'll add a divider here, and then travel distance will be I don't know, in kilometers or something. And then price, we can think about, we want transparent pricing, so maybe we can show the full price up front. So let's say this is $30, or like let's say it's $8, and then give me a name of a local favorite. Local farmers market. Sure.
Sure. Yeah. Everyone loves farmers market.
Now I'm just like decreasing the hierarchy a little bit here. Let's keep that bold, and then let's just make that 70%. So now I have a bit of hierarchy. I'm gonna put this together, 8, and then set another auto layout, set this to 4. Let's do 8 as well. Okay, so this is, let's just call it a tile, and then I'm gonna set another auto layout and duplicate this, and then keep the margin to 0. And then what I want to do now is I want to set it to be fixed. So it's gonna, this entire grid is gonna fit within the margins. And then what I'm gonna do is for both of these, I'm gonna set it to fill container, and then do that. Why is it doing this?
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to get it to be flush or aligned. Give me 1 sec. Fill container. Oh, that's why this has to. Oops. Fill container. This is 160. Set this to 8. Hold on. That's doing something weird right now.
I've been looking at auto layout all day.
I think this, yeah. This is
Oh my goodness.
thumbnail. This is the tag. This is the background. This is the meta info. Can you unselect that thing? It's throwing me off a little.
Am I selecting?
I think you're select. Oh, I see what happened. I need to group this together.
I'm only on a review mode right now.
Oh, okay. Right, so if I set this to be there, and then if I duplicate, oh, I see what's going on. Tile, then call this tile row, and then this should be auto. And then if I duplicate this and set it to horizontal, and then do that, this is fill, this is fill, do fill. Okay, there we go. Sorry, that was super weird. Tile row, and then, whoa.
Cool.
Why is it tile row? Plug contents. All right, there we go. Sorry about that. All right, so we can do maybe 2 rows per category. I'm using multiples 8 for all the spacing, and then do tile grid, and then I'll select this and do 12. And then let's just call this, give me a category of travel destinations.
Category or locations?
All right, beaches. And then
farmers market on the beaches. Yeah, sure. I mean, there's like LA.
And then I'll duplicate this again. We'll set this to be, let's say 20. Okay, so this looks a little bit better now. We'll call this markets, and we'll call this beaches. If I was smart, I would have done this with components, but that's fine. Okay, cool. So this looks a little bit better than what we have so far, and let's tick off the ones that we actually included. So a lot of these would actually apply for the subsequent screen as well, so we'll design this next. So we have, okay, we also want to show schedule availability. So maybe that can be like another row. We can do something like this, and then do, I don't know, like 8 spots remaining or something. Okay, I'm actually just gonna turn this into a component.
A component, yeah. I was actually gonna say.
Yeah. I was trying to do
yeah.
fast, but okay, that's now a component, and then I'm gonna fix this as well.
Yeah, my personal tip is if you're making, even if you're doing like only 5 screens for a design challenge, you should think about like making something into a component if you're using it more than twice or 3 times.
Yeah.
Because just fixing that one thing will just fix everything else. And I've run into this issue many times where I'm actually just spending a lot more time fixing little things.
Yeah, that's a good call. Let me detach this. Every time I do this, I always get thrown off because the Facebook version of Figma we use is super different. Remove
Oh,
layout.
interesting.
Turn this into. Is that working?
So,
What's going on? Um, Move all the layouts. Where is? That's super weird. How do I remove this as a component?
oh, you have to make a duplicate and delete the main component and then delete the duplicate.
Oh, the attach instance. All right, got you. All right, let's remove that and then paste this in here. Um,
The thing about auto layout is that it's very convenient when it works, but then when you have to fix something that's like inside of a.
I feel like I'm so much better with this normally, and then I'm like pressured because it's like live.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. When someone's watching me design, I just kind of become 10 times dumber.
Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna delete this part, and then I'm just gonna redo this.
Ahmed is like, I'm about to hate Figma. Don't.
Well, Figma's actually like God tier. Like, there's no better platform out there.
100%.
Um,
Yeah.
okay. Wow, that's really throwing me off. Okay, cool. That's deleted. Okay, cool. Okay, we're back.
Okay, cool.
Just delete that. And then we'll add the spots.
Yay.
Okay, cool. And then we'll just do this. We'll call this a row, and then call this the stack. Okay, cool. Okay, we're back. We're back. Oh, that was wild. All right. Cool. And then I'm just gonna put in the title, which I think I called explore.
Local.
I'll just call it hidden gems. Fuck it.
Yeah, let's just. Yeah, we're not UX writers.
I'll put that here. Group that. Set the background to white, and then I'm just gonna set this to white as well. And then the spacing should be closer to perfect. And then let's just clean up the search bar as well, I guess. So set it to fixed and do 44 pixels. Left aligned. And then this will be stacked in at 16. Okay, so I'm using multiples of 8 for everything. So, and it's auto layouted now. So as I kind of change things, it should scale automatically. Okay, so let's compare what we have so far. Okay, so what is the difference here based off the hypotheses that we've done?
We're showing explicit transparent schedule availability. Well, this was supposed to be just like kind of a browse these if you like the pictures, but I guess our hypothesis is that the travelers will be looking for transparent pricing from the get-go because that's on top of their minds. So it's a good idea to be showing it from the front page,
Yeah,
which
like
is what you did.
trying to pull an icon. Well,
Oh.
it's a huge. So or then we'll put it here. So one other thing I noticed is like you don't actually need to have this search icon, because the default behavior is once you tap into this, it expands into like a full search screen. And then you'll have the keyboard pop up, and on the keyboard, there'll be a button for search. And we'll also have like type ahead search as well. So
Gotcha.
this kind of search button inside the search bar is actually just like a web pattern that we don't really use on mobile.
Makes sense.
Cool.
So yeah, we did that. We did the transparency on the schedule availability by showing 8 spots on all tours so far. And we've also gotten the distance there. Yep.
And then do that, and then we can pick a brand. You already picked brand color. Okay.
Yeah.
To the screen. Oh, nice. You even made it a thing. We'll probably want different colors too, I think.
Do you want the colors that I was using?
Oh, no, it's okay. We'll just use like, we'll come with different colors for everything. Actually, if you want to go in, you can like kind of switch the tags as we go along. But I think people generally get the point of where we're going with this. Let's do the
Sure.
Let's do this.
FYI, I'm on a review mode right now, so I can't actually change anything.
Oh, do you not have access, or?
No, this is your file. You made a copy of it, so.
Oh. Are you added in here? You can now edit.
Oh, yay.
Okay, cool. Let's go into this screen. I like this bottom sheet pattern you have here. I'm curious, why did you choose a bottom sheet over like an entire screen redirect?
Because this is the anchor here. We have like a grid of things, and when you click on something, it doesn't take out everything that's on the anchor page. So that was kind of what was going through my mind. If you just have it kind of pop up, then you are more likely to think of this as a browsing thing rather than, oh, you're kind of committed to this one page now. That's how I feel sometimes, but that was just kind of like going with my own gut.
Interesting. Okay. I think that's pretty fair. So generally, like, you want to think about what actions there are on top of this page. If it's just a quick view, then this bottom sheet makes sense. But if you're going to have scenarios where you're going to have like a modal or another bottom sheet layered on top of this, then you probably want to avoid that. So for example, change time and date, that's probably going to open the native iOS picker. And then you'll have a bottom sheet on top of bottom sheet, which generally is not a great interaction pattern, because there's gonna be some jankiness when they try and like swipe down to close it, and they might swipe down something they don't intend to. So again, if it's gonna be a quick view, then this bottom thing makes sense. But if you're gonna have like additional UI layers on top, then you don't want to do that. Does that make sense?
Yep, makes sense.
Cool. So put some more colors. Do you know how to do color harmony, by the way? Should we go through that?
Color harmony?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's like how you make sure your color palette looks consistent when you need to do a lot of different colors like this.
Oh, yeah. So I have a different process. I'm not sure what this color harmony process looks like, but I basically do my lo-fi wireframe and kind of decide on the branding. I think of the keywords and the feelings that I want to have in my design overall, and then I think about the colors, and then I pick my color palettes. So I pick the neutral grays. I pick about 5 to 10 of them, depending on what kind of designs I'm doing. So definitely starting with five different shades of gray, and then also the main primary color, and then I might have a secondary color. But I don't usually, for something that was supposed to be just like a couple of hours of exercise, I don't go any more than that. I don't go any further than those 3 color palettes. What about you?
Okay, so in this scenario here, let's say green is like your brand color. So let me just show you how this works. So yeah, so it looks really nice because you already created a monochromatic scale for your colors, which I think you'll always need. So that looks like this, this. etc. You get the point. And then you might have like an accent color in case you also want to do the scale as well. So let's say
Yeah.
orange. You actually set this up really well already, but what I'm trying to show you in this case is you have these tags, which you'll want different colors for. Maybe you'll have icons, but you need some sort of like quick visual association for it. How do you create a color
Exactly.
palette that looks like it's harmonious? And how you can do that is take these two colors that you've done. By default, most people work with text, but if you go into the drop down here, you have hue, saturation, and brightness. So if you keep the saturation and brightness the exact same, like keep these values the same, and only change the hue, which you can do manually or just move along this, you can see as I'm moving around here, the saturation brightness doesn't change, but the hue does. So if you do that, all the colors will automatically be harmonious with your main color there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, actually, that's what I do a lot of times.
Okay. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's
I play with the colors a lot. But
what to do for this.
you actually picked out good colors because this is what I had. So very much like bang on. And I did have a blue somewhere there as well. It was something close to this,
Oh, perfect.
and a little bit darker. I wanted, yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Okay,
So good eye. You picked out all the same colors.
let's go through this. Let me just take a back icon real quick. Um, let's do this one. And then let's just call this Ocean Village Walk. All right, let's redesign this. So I'm gonna go with like a full screen experience instead of this half sheet because we'll probably have overlays on top for these things. Does that make sense? And then we'll put the image in as well, but we probably want actually.
Sure. While you do that, I'll answer. I'll respond to something in the chat.
Yes, answer.
So Ahmed said, I think there are tools for coming up with accent colors. I don't know if we have to depend on them or just using our gut. So this is something that I've been asked in my interview as well, how I pick my colors. And I mean, I'm very interested in like just choosing, playing with colors. So what I did was study how brands use their color palettes, how they've laid out their palettes. And there's a lot of like actually kind of scientific reasons why some palettes are chosen. And it basically follows a curve on the color scheme, I guess. But after a while of looking at them, you kind of develop your own gut on how to choose colors and how it and whether it will make sense and it would look like it as if it's on a curve. So yeah, it's something that you develop as a skill, I think. But at the beginning, you can definitely use the color choosing tools that there's tons of them online, and you can even just like go off of um, a already chosen color palettes, and there are many websites where people have put together color palettes. Yeah, coolers or colors.co is actually a really good one.
I personally always just like do a custom because I feel like every time I copy a color online, it ends up like taking longer to fix the color harmony and unity. Because most of them are, I think they're like generated or like they're taken from like natural images, which sometimes does work, but also has like a lot of issues too.
Yeah, but yeah, I used to use those color palettes that were on the websites, but I did realize that they were just like not fitting my purposes, and I just kind of choose my own colors now. But definitely at the beginning, if you're choosing your own colors, they might look weird. You just have to learn how color theory works, I guess. But that's pretty easy to learn.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a more in-depth article on color theory one day. Okay, so I just changed this a little bit. I think I'm gonna move the title down here since we'll need it. All right, so we have the price, we have the distance, and then we have 8 spots, which you probably don't want to show here. You want it to be a bit more prominent. We might want to show that underneath book for $30 to kind of add in that urgency. So we have the distance. What else do we need to know? Let's look at our hypotheses again.
Yes, let's go to them.
So you need some sort of system for reviews, I think, which you have here. I think I would prefer just to do it like linearly, maybe. Or let's think about this. Description, reviews, host. Does that content hierarchy make sense with our new hypotheses?
Say that again, your hierarchy?
Does this content hierarchy make sense for our new hypotheses?
I think it's definitely missing something there. It's missing, like, whether it's a hidden gem, I mean hidden photo spots, or it's attractive for our users. So that's one thing that we could put in there, but I'm not sure if it's a good hierarchy necessarily.
Okay, so we have description, we have a bit long. We have reviews, we have host, we have available time slots. Think about it from like the order of which people will care about. Like as somebody that's skeptical about, using one of their precious days of traveling on this event, what kind of objections or things do they need to know in their mind before they can make a decision? I think Jeremy's got the first great question is adding testimonies. So let's do that. So what does that testimony mean? Maybe the name. So I said we shouldn't do star ratings. When I said that, I meant we don't want to do averages because you need like a high quantity of ratings for it to be useful. But you can't get the ratings of individual people because we'll likely have not as many, I don't think.
Right.
And I probably just represent it as like a star. So do that. And then 5, group that name, and then we'll have their testimony or the review, which will probably be a bit shorter. What else do we need?
We said maybe we could show user uploaded photos, but that could be attached to the review itself.
Well, think about the use cases here. Does it make sense to show so you have like kind of like the main images up here, which are kind of going to be like very, very like overly produced, very nicely shot, but people want to see like more of the authentic photos too. So in that sense, reviews make sense. But if we wanted to do like smart photo tags, then we might want to structure it a little bit differently. Smart photo tags being like, pictures of the beach, pictures of the food, how like when you go to like Google Maps, they have like tags for the different types of photos.
Right.
Do you think that would be valuable, or do you think it makes more sense to just attach it to the reviews? What if they want to upload images without sharing any reviews?
Okay, so reviews could be in text, or it could be in photos, or it could be both. So someone uploading photo reviews don't have to have a text review. Is that kind of what you're assuming?
Not really. I don't know if that would make sense. I think it should be like a separate section, maybe.
Oh, I see. So like Google Photo, sorry, not Google Photos, Google Reviews, where they got a whole section just dedicated to user uploaded photos.
Yeah, I think that would make more sense. And then these,
Sure. So like the main pretty pictures to like attract the user at first, and they see the user uploaded photos just to kind of confirm that this is something that people, other similar users liked. Kind of a confirmation thing, I guess.
yeah. So I guess you can do view all. Oh, that's fine. Sorry. I realized like, it would have been faster to just like download this font than to have to change it every time, but we've already gone.
Oh, there's actually a plugin called Font Replacer, I believe, and what you can do is just select everything and replace them all with some other font. I will do that.
Okay, so we got one section here. We have the description. 12 description, and then we have maybe we'll have some sort of thing for photos. So let's just stretch this out a little bit more. User uploaded photos. Actually, I want to bump these down a little.
Font Replacer.
Okay, user uploaded photos. How should this be structured? What do you think? We don't want to waste too much vertical real estate for this, but we also want to show like the different tags.
I'm thinking like the mosaic style.
Yeah.
You can see multiple of them all at the same time.
Okay. Mosaic style. How would they select the categories of the photos?
It could be like this. Have little subheadings, perhaps. Like
Design it.
I'm trying to. Could be like little. Okay, sorry. Little chips, maybe. Actually, I do have chips somewhere here.
Then we want to show like a. Oh, I think I have an idea. What if we did something like this? Then we overlaid it on top. And then. Oops.
Oh man, yeah, the font thing is kind of annoying. Yeah.
Something like this, and then do.
Well, that looks nice.
Yeah.
It's like a SoundCloud cover photo.
Yeah, I know, right? You can still like 80 photos. Down. Show that. Show this.
Oh man. Oh, yeah, your modern era child font. I do not have.
That's just like my current favorite font that I'm debating if I should. Let's just call this scenic. Okay, and then we'll make this into photo categories. Carousel. Do something like this. So this would be an entry point into some other screen.
Oh, that's what you're thinking. I was thinking more like,
So there's a small interaction pattern issue with this, right? Because if you think about selecting different types of these, what is that going to change? Is it going to change the character at the bottom? If it is, then that's like a very limited real estate that all these buttons are affecting. Um,
mm,
so like, I'll give you an example. Like, let's say this is like food, this is scenic, this is beaches, and then you have the photo. Is it one photo or multiple on the bottom?
I'm thinking like mosaic, multiple.
Okay, so it being multiple, right? Let's just do
Yeah, let's just say like
that.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Something like this, right? Um, and let's just say this is like these photos, and then you have another version or another state here where this is scenic is selected, food is disconnected, and and these are different photos, right?
Hmm.
Is that the kind of interaction plan you had in mind?
Right.
So do you see the potential issue here?
You're potentially not. You're potentially missing seeing these other unselected photo
Um,
categories. Is that what you're?
not the only thing that's kind of iffy is like, so think about the interaction cost, right? Like you have to click on all these to view all of these, but then like what's actually changing? Like a very, very tiny masonry grid or mosaic grid. That's like a tiny section across this entire screen. Ideally what you want them to do is you want them to decide on like what thing they want to see in more detail, and it has to launch them into like a different experience, like more optimized for viewing images, like a Lightbox or something, or like a separate photo browser. Whereas like right now, you're forcing them to see like all these photos on a little tiny screen. Maybe they can still tap into it to view. Maybe they can still tap into it to view in a Lightbox, but then you're adding like 3 clicks to accomplish the same thing that this is doing. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
Maybe we can show you what the Lightbox experience looks like. It'll just be, oops, it'll just be, it would be something like this. iPhone. Um, this. We'll do something like I don't know, beach photos, and then so you'll have some experience like this, and then you'll have the photo on the inside.
Hmm.
And then I'm assuming you might have some chevrons.
Oh,
Um, to this. Um, yeah, sure. We'll put something like this in for them to navigate between screens. And then it's, whoa, that's weird. All right, and then this would probably be like an X or something. I'm just doing this as a placeholder. So the current interaction pattern would go from here to there, right?
so is
Um,
this like a scrim?
I call it a light box. It might be called something else. But with this one, the interaction cost was like they have to select one of these things first. So, you know, food to scenic, and then they have to go from here to Why is can't drag for some reason.
Oh, it has to be in a frame.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they would have to go from here to there. So if you look at the interaction cost, this is 1 click, but this is potentially 2 or more clicks. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Yeah. This is the interaction cost that you talked about in one of the articles, I think.
This is like level 1 of interaction cost because most people, when they think interaction costs, they really only think about like the number of clicks, which is like the most superficial metric. We didn't really talk about cognitive load or like motivation or like memory and attention yet. There's like a lot of sub factors, but just from a clicks perspective, this is more clicks than necessary, which is why
Right.
I feel like this is a potentially better pattern.
Yeah, I agree. And when you actually prototype it like that and you see the lines, you can actually count the number of lines, between A and B. So that's a good
Yeah,
that's a good case.
yeah. I think Jeremy asked a really interesting question. So he actually asked, like, what happens when they scroll to the end, right? So there's kind of 2 patterns here. The default crappy pattern on web is that, it just starts cycling. Um, if you think about the use case of that, is there any use case where somebody would want to see the first photo again after swiping through all of them? Probably not. So the better experience is to somehow add an affordance that indicates once they swipe to the end of beach photos, they'll automatically start seeing scenic photos, which would be slightly better. And then the best pattern would be to actually somehow design an affordance for that. So for example, oh, this is gonna be super bad. Maybe this will say scenic photo. Oops. Scene. I'm doing this really roughly, guys. So don't judge me on this like visual design.
Well, no, this is really good.
So
And
we'll do this. And do you see what this does?
right.
So right now it shows that this is also navigation, and then also since it's affordance, that once you swipe to the end, it automatically goes into the second category. And I think that would be the peak pattern. Visually, this is not super well executed, but that's just like an idea of how to think about interaction costs and user expectations.
I
Uh,
like that.
does that answer your question, Jeremy? Oh yeah, vertical. Yeah, actually, he is smarter than I because vertical is better on mobile than desktop. Um,
Like infinite scroll.
Infinite scroll. Yeah. If you look at the actual biomechanics of the thumb, this is super nerdy. I just know this because my background's in biomechanics, but the load tolerance of a vertical swipe is much lower than a horizontal swipe. So what it means is like, if you had 2 people and person 1 swiped horizontally for like an hour and person 2 swiped vertically for an hour, the person
Sounds painful.
that swiped horizontally would have a sore thumb, if that makes sense.
Or
So
dislocate the thumb altogether.
So let's actually scrap this and redesign it because that's actually a way better pattern. So instead, what we could do is um, oops. We'll take this, we'll make it vertical instead. Do that. We'll do this. And then, oops, so move this away. Um, do that. Well, let's just duplicate this a bunch of times. And then can do is take that. Oops. Move this down. Um, and then do that. Whoops. The to watch out for here is that you want to make sure that the back button is floating somehow. So actually, I might probably just copy what you have here.
Sure.
Here, and then this is just like a, I don't know, like a fun fact, I guess, but um, X's should go on the right and back should go on the left. So this,
Yeah, you know what? I did think that way. I actually designed it that way, and I started looking at all the apps. They have it like how I designed it, like final. So I
so
wasn't sure if that's a new pattern.
explain this in a bit more detail. Reach area, reach, oops, reach area mobile. Um, so if you want to like really big brain this, this is the reach area for mobile. So if you look at the right hand, if you put the Xer back here, like it's hard. But if you put it here, like it's a little bit better for the right-handed person. If you really wanted to like big brain and like do a really good job at your interaction design, you would have a preference that has like a left-hand mode and right-hand mode and just swap it. Although the cost of that is like pretty high, most people don't do it. And there's also a new gesture on iOS where if you swipe horizontally from like this corner to this corner, it also acts as a back. Um, so yeah, there's a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of options you could do. Alternatively, like because even this is still like a pretty far stretch, you can actually borrow the pattern that you have here. So if we just grab that and then add a scrim, whoops,
While you do that, I want to ask
yeah.
Ahmed and Drusty. Do you mean the navigation bar, the bottom navigation bar? So they want to see how can you execute that nav better? The nav is really cool.
What nav?
Not sure. Maybe they mean the bottom nav.
Bottom nav. Okay, this is an example where like you should not fuck with the defaults. The default nav is like by far good enough for 99% of the use cases. Like there's very rare situations where you should customize the bottom bar for iOS, just because people already expect it. There is this like new weird pattern, and I do it sometimes, but only for Dribble, where like you actually remove the labels and you just have the icons.
Yeah,
Like
I don't like.
for example, that's actually a really bad UX pattern because there's a lot of studies that actually show that the average person only knows 20 standard or stock icons. Um, you know, like the search, favorite, account, chat, but they definitely wouldn't recognize a tour icon. So in most cases, if you even use one icon that's not in that standard set of 20, and I'm using 20 as like just a rule of thumb, you probably should always set the labels. And there's also like a pattern called recognition over recall, which is like you don't want people to remember or like force them to remember like, oh, like what's the icon for again? That just adds a lot of unnecessary cognitive load. So you actually did customize this a little bit because you have like the custom font and the spacing's a little bit different. Um, you know, it's fine, like it looks cool, but in most cases in real life, you should always stick with the default. Um, just like
Good
also
point.
this as like oops, as like whoa, what's going on? It's actually a red flag in portfolios too if you've redesigned a native component for no apparent reason. So, you know, be warned. 16.
Oh, that's an interesting point because on Dribble there's a lot of those super customized components.
Yeah, but it's
So
really bad UX and also costs a lot of dev resources to implement it. Generally just
yeah,
do that if you can help it.
what's that?
You generally don't want to do that if you can help it. There's no reason to. Um,
Agreed.
what is going on?
I have to applaud you for actually designing something in
Uh,
high fidelity in front of people. This is
I'm
this is
usually
a skill.
it's like end of the day on Friday, so I'm like a little bit rusty right now. Okay, cool. This is what I wanted to do. Oh wait, there's one more thing I wanted to add. 128. I want to add a handle, which is the affordance that they can actually swipe down.
Ah, gotcha.
Okay, so we've redesigned this a couple times now. This ended up being more on interaction for some reason. I guess fine if that's what the people want. 56. Okay, so this is actually even a better pattern because you're not forcing them to like reach all the way to the top right here to dismiss it. And this is where you do want to use a temporary view. So when they tap one of these, it opens up this bottom sheet, they scroll vertically, and then when they want to swipe down, it just dismisses the whole thing, which I think is more aligned with the natural kind of pattern you would expect people to do.
Yeah, this looks really good.
Cool. See if there's any comments here.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Jesse,
More than 20 minutes. Holy
yeah. Oh my goodness.
god. Let's just wrap up this screen and we can call it a day. Maybe do some Q&A. You said you have a lot of specific hypothesis and experiment questions, right, Jean? Do you want to ask that for a break?
Sure. Before I dive into those, Jesse asked another follow-up question. Can you give more examples of native components that you should not redesign?
I mean, I think the right question is like, what native component should you redesign? And that's going to be a case-by-case basis.
Right.
Like you want to kind of think about what's easy to customize, which is usually color and icon. Oh, not even icons. Like color mostly is the easiest thing to tweak, followed by typography depending on the system. Icons you can as well, but generally you want to choose the easiest elements to style to communicate your brand without introducing a lot of development work. Like really good designers will be able to kind of have an idea of the development cost of every design change that they're proposing, and then they should be able to make trade-offs to optimize like how to achieve their goal without introducing too much dev workload. So obviously you don't want to take everything and make it like really cookie cutter because then you end up a generic iOS app, but
yeah,
surprised how a few minor tweaks and actually make it so that you have like pretty substantial like branding presence. I'll give you guys an example actually. Go to material design.
and actually, just to make a point of this, in my original design, I didn't change a lot of things. I don't think I changed anything almost from Google Materials guideline, to be honest with you, except the color and typography and spacing. I just kind of decided it's going to be a little bit like tight.
Yeah. So I was just saying, in material design, everything here is a material design system, and then they have a few examples of how to customize it using material theming, which is the parameters that you can edit and make it like really, really easy to change without introducing a lot of extra code. So look at this one, it's called Crane. This is using pure material, but they've created their own brand using color mostly. There's this one where they change the typography and color so that it doesn't even look material anymore, but it's technically still material. They have